Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. As mentioned, my name is Dekel. I'm the VP R&D at Cymmetria. I will not talk about Cymmetria. I will try to make this presentation as vendor-free as possible as I can. I will talk about what is deception, but a bit of a background about me. As I mentioned, I'm Dekel Braunstein. I'm web developer most of my time, most of my years. I have about 20 years of experience with that. And for those of you who know what this means, basically this is what you see is what you get, or is it? Because look can be deceiving. I'm looking like 18, 20 maybe. I'm not. I'm really not. And with deception, this is basically what we're talking about. When I planned this talk, I had a couple of things in mind. I had a couple of titles that I wanted to use. The first one was True Deception Stories, which is the one I'm using. The second one was about deception. Everything I tell you here is true. The last one is deception, no bullshit. Deception is a very, very nice thing, and it's a buzzword, and lots of people talk about deception, but there are truth, and there are some things that are not truth about deception. And when someone comes and tells you, yeah, put deception, and everything will be OK, and you can just catch everything with deception, this is not true. And what I'll do today is I will try to make sure that I can bring you some of the truth and some of the not so real truth about deception. I stole this slide from a guy called Marcus. I met him last year in the network crosswords exercise. It was a really amazing time there, really great guys. And when we entered this facility, there were a lot of photos of this one on the walls and on the doors. And I realized that when technical people come to presentations and come to talks, they don't want to hear sales pitches. They want to hear the truth. They want to understand what really is it for me. What do I get from it? And I will try to cover as much as I can during this talk about things that we did in enterprise, things that we did not in the enterprise and not for profit. And I will try to cover things that are less vendor and less sales things. So I do need your help, so be prepared with your phones. I hope that everyone have access to the internet here. I will talk about honeypots and public IPs. I will talk about how we move from just generic honeypots to high interaction decoys. I will talk a bit about crypto miners, data breaches, and I already mentioned the network crosswords exercise. So I do need your help, and if you can go to menti.com and use this specific numbers there, this code, it will be very good for me and probably also for you. So let's go here. And I do need your help here. So when you hear deception, what does this mean to you? And there are many, many things that you can write. So just use your phone. Those that are joining us online from your home, please join. Please use this one. And I hope it will work. OK, nice, nice. More. I need more. Decoy, good. Oh, come on, 2 people? You're more than that. Oh, yeah. Honeypots, good. Social engineering, I like it. More, more, more. We have more people, obviously, online. We have more people here in the crowd. Kevin Mitnick, fake, nice. Hidden treasures, disinformation, misleading, fun. Fun is a good one. Do we have any more? OK, so it is nice. And by the way, you can repeat them if you want. It's a really nice trick. So there are many things that you can say and you can think and you can rely on when you talk about deception. And as you can see, if we will continue this, and if the crowd here was a bit more, I guess we would get more things inside. So this is very nice. Now I have a different question for you. Do you run any type of deception inside your organization? And keep in mind the keywords that we had before. We talked about decoys, we talked about honeypots, we talked about fun, so I hope you all have some fun in your environment, but don't use this one and don't say yes to that. Okay, nice. So we do have about 50-50% here that either use or not use, and I see that we have more that are not sure. So these days, probably most of the organization will say, no, we don't use, or no, I'm not sure whether or not I have any type of deception in my organization. And the truth is, deception is new. Deception is pretty new to cybersecurity. And we're not so sure about whether or not it's good for us. Is it bad for us? Is it worth to invest in cyber deception? Because when I tell you, do you have antivirus in all of your endpoints? Do you have an EDR solution? Do you have a firewall? You will probably say, yes, we do. And the managers in the organization, the directors, they will say, yeah, I know that I invest XYZ money into firewalls, whether they are hardware firewalls or they are software firewalls. And I know that by investing the money in those specific firewalls, I will get something out of it. I know that using them, I can actually come and say, we were able to stop a specific breach. If we're talking about antiviruses, we're talking about specific events that we actually can see in the SIM that we were able to stop a specific virus from doing something to one endpoint or from spreading around. So when we talk about cyber deception, it's a bit vague. Because with cyber deception, we are not sure about whether or not we will be able to catch something, because usually when we talk about cyber deception, we hope and we wait for someone to get in. And let's say that we have a very, very big network with hundreds or thousands or 10,000, 100,000 of endpoints. Do we know that we have an attacker inside? Can we say for sure that tomorrow morning we will implement deception campaigns inside the entire environment? Can we say that the day after we will actually catch something? Probably not. And this is problematic, because eventually you want to say, I'm the CEO of the company, I'm putting a lot of money into some solution, and I want to make sure that the money is spent well. So the problem with deception is that you cannot always guarantee that you will catch something, because eventually, with deception, usually we focus on high, sophisticated, advanced attackers. Because when we talk about deception, we want to make sure that we catch attackers in a very specific way. Usually we talk about attackers that are moving laterally inside our network. We are not focusing on viruses. We are focusing on sophisticated attackers. And probably not all of the organizations are targeted by specific and high sophisticated attackers. So this is one of the things that it's important to remember about deception. When we talk about deception, we also talk about catching things in the wild. The words before that you wrote, some of you wrote honeypots. So usually when we see public IPs that people try to attack, the first username that they will try to use is the root. And by the way, it's by far being used compared to other usernames combined. Okay? We run a very big network of honeypots for a couple of months. And if we talk about what are the usernames that attackers are trying to use in order to access those specific IPs, we see that, and I removed the root from here, because if I had the root here, everything else will be like from here, and root will be like upstairs here. So root is the number one. And then you can see that we have admin, test, user, UBNT, which is the Ubuntu one, but we have a different one here. We have support, Oracle. There are many, many types, many usernames that attackers are trying to use in order to access public IPs. Because public IPs are usually vulnerable to something. And since we can say that public IPs are vulnerable, we can assume that we have the same software, the same hardware maybe, the same systems running inside our organization, inside our perimeter, that attackers will try and probably will be able to breach. When we talk about what are the IPs that try to attack us, we have here a distribution of IPs over the specific username. So you see here the same usernames for before. We see the admin, the test, the user. Those are the same usernames from before. And you can see here which IPs were used to try to attack those specific the machines using those specific usernames. Now, I assume that most of you don't really have the ability to tell me, just from looking at the screen, what are those IPs and where they are from, so I'll help you. Those are the top IPs that we caught. Can someone guess where they are from? No? Which country? I heard something here. US. China. Those 10 top IPs, 10 top IPs are from China. Now, I cannot tell you much about it. I have no idea if those IPs are IPs that have been breached and someone is using them, because maybe it is. I have no idea about it. I never tried to access those IPs and check if those IPs are specifically IPs that someone is actually using and they are their own, like maybe those are all IPs of university and they're doing researches, or maybe someone was actually able to compromise those IPs and use them in order to access my honeypot network. I have no idea about it. Back in 2018, October 2018, there was a very huge vulnerability in libSSH. It was an authentication bypass that basically gave anyone that wanted an ability to access any system that is built on top of the libSSH full access to the machine, the ability to get into the machine without username and password, and run any code inside. It's like you open a shell, and you do SSH somewhere, and instead of getting a request of what is your username and what is your password, you just get full access into the system. It was very huge and very interesting. It was in October 2018. And unlike those that you see here, unlike those IPs, we used the same vulnerability inside our network. And unlike those that we see that most of them are from China, the top countries that we got access that will try to use this vulnerability were Iran, Indonesia, Russia, USA, Canada, Germany, and Pakistan. Now, this is very interesting because we see that different industries, different countries, different things, different people try to use different ways to access our systems. This is a picture from Shodan. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with Shodan. If not, you should be. Specifically, you are in the cybersecurity industry. So this is a picture from Shodan from today. Those are the numbers of public IPs that are still vulnerable today to that specific vulnerability. Today, more than a year after it was fixed already. So when we talk about public IPs, when we talk about researchers about public IPs, we talk about this. I will say that me personally and the company I work with, Cymmetria, we are very happy to collaborate with researchers. So if you want to do any type of research on honeypots, public IPs, talk to me. I'll be happy to provide you pretty much whatever you need in order to do it. We have data, we have computers, we have whatever you need. Let us know. We will be happy to collaborate. Deception in the enterprise. So we talked about public IPs, which is nice, it's good. But eventually, most of us here not to do research and fun stuff. I am. But we are here to learn and to understand what we can do to protect better our environment. So when we talk about deception in the enterprise, it's very important to understand we don't catch every day. Usually, when we talk about deception in the enterprise, you will not get flooded by alerts. Deception will catch advanced attackers. I mentioned it before. So when we talk about our SIM, when we see thousands, hundreds of thousands events in the SIM, probably none of them will be from a deception solution. Because with deception, you will probably have a system that is quiet. And this is one of the cons of deception, because I cannot come to the CEO of the company and say, yeah, put my deception, put my solution inside, and tomorrow morning you will have many, many new alerts that you need to analyze. No. Which is also a pro on the other hand, because he doesn't really need to go and hire more analysts to do this work. On the other hand, pen testers are being caught all the time, because pen testers usually work just like an advanced attacker. They will come to the organization, they will come to the network, and they will try to find a way to move inside the network, whether they are just stealing credentials using Mimikatz, whether they will run responder to be able to breach other elements in the network. Pen testers almost all the time are being caught by deception. When we talk about planning a good deception campaign, we talk about elements that should be real, as technical as possible, in the environment. We talk about elements that should look real, elements that should feel real. When the attacker is finding those elements, the attacker cannot say, OK, this doesn't look real to me. We want to make sure that those elements, the credentials, the files, the sessions that we put on the elements inside our system will look real. Deception can be overkill, and it is very, very important to hear that and to remember that. It really depends on how you plan your campaign, what are the tools that you're using. If you plan to use open source solution for deception, which is possible, okay? It is possible to use open source solutions for deception. But keep in mind that you will not pay for the support, you will not pay for the product, but you will need to pay the salary for your people that will need to actually go and configure it and manage it. Let's see if this video will work. So, this is a video of a decoy. Decoy is a high operating system. It's like a honeypot, but not an emulator, a real one, and a system that is being fully monitored. And it was compromised. We have a video session of what the attacker is actually doing inside. And this is, yes, it is from one of our customers. And the thing is that once the attacker was able to get inside, the only thing he wanted to do was to use the CPU of the computer. I'm not sure if you noticed it during the video, but I do have, one second, I have this one. So this is a zoom on the video, and the only thing the attacker wanted was to use the CPU. He wanted to mine Bitcoins on that specific machine. So when we talk about attackers that are compromising your environment, we can talk about attackers that are here for profit, like this one. We can talk about attackers that are trying to just do something inside the environment, compromise things, hurt you. So there are many things that we can see. When we talk about attribution, it's a bit harder, because not all the time we are able to actually understand what the attacker is doing and what he's using. And with deception, sometimes we get the tools, sometimes we don't. But if we don't get the tools, we can sometimes use the working hours of the attackers. So when we know when the attacker worked inside our environment, and you can see here the exactly time frame of when the attacker worked, we can maybe not 100% sure about where the attackers are from, but we can actually see and understand and maybe think and assume that they are from a specific area in the world. This is from our public release of Patchwork. You can go to the website and view the full report on it. AWS. Who here has AWS? Who here runs S3 buckets? We had a very big customer in the US, and we created a specific solution for them for protecting S3 buckets using deception. It was a very, very nice tool. We had a POC there. We won the POC. It was a paid POC. It was really nice. And we won the POC. And after we won the POC, they told us, sorry, we know that we won the POC, but we don't have enough money to pay you for the full version, and we will have to talk again next year when we will have budget for it. Now, after about a year, they had a huge breach with their S3 buckets. Now, it really made me sad, because we work really hard, and the reason that we work really hard on such solutions is to make sure that our customers are being protected. And the fact that they were breached exactly in the same place, it really made me sad that day. Now, I cannot guarantee that if we were installed, we would be able to catch that specific attack. But what I can tell you is that later that month, after that huge breach, Amazon sent emails to all of them clients saying, hey, you have an S3 bucket, which is configured for public access. Maybe you want to go there and check it. So this is an email that each and every customer of Amazon got in case they had one or more S3 buckets that were publicly open. And it's interesting because, yes, we have a solution specifically for that, but it is interesting because AWS actually tried to take care of that for their customers. So there are ways to handle different things, and we do have a solution specifically for that, a deception solution, which might be good in some scenarios, might be not relevant in others, but it is very interesting. I hope all of you attended the amazing talk that we had this morning by Jenny about social engineering. If not, it was not recorded, so you should check her Twitter, I hope she's there, and see when she's about to give the same talk again, because it was an amazing talk. So a couple of months back, we got an email. Not sure if you know this name, Gadi Evron. Gadi Evron is the CEO of Cymmetria, of my company. And Gadi Evron got his email from an old email. It was basically from Gadi Evron, which is not his email, as you can see. And it was sent to one of our emails accounts. Now, I will not tell you which one it was, but that was a person that was no longer with Cymmetria. And because of that, we have a forwarder for those emails to someone else in the organization. And it was nice, because that person was trying to get something from us, okay? And we replied, yes, what do you need? And that person said, I need you to get me some Google gift cards from a store nearby. And obviously, on the first email, we understood that this is some phishing email. But this is a very nice example of deception. Now, we played. It was really nice. So we replied, yeah, I think there are multiple stores around. I can try and get those. How many do you need? So we got a reply back. Give me a couple of cards, like 3 cards, $500. How soon can you get it? So our, we can say it attacker, but it's not really an attacker, but that person on the other side, he actually wanted us to go and provide cards, gift cards, as soon as possible. So we said, we can do it tomorrow. And we got this reply like super fast. The reason is that that person, he knew that if we will try and understand what is going on, is this really the CEO asking something, we will actually be able to understand this. Now, it goes and goes and goes, and I don't have all the conversation here, but during this time, we tried to contact Google to see if they can provide us with fake numbers for a specific gift card. And that way, we will be able to provide our adversary with those fake numbers, and he can use them, and then Google can track it. Because eventually, when we talk about deception, we talk about a way to feed deceptive information to an attacker, whether it is someone that's trying to do some social engineering, whether it is an advanced attacker inside our network. But we feed them with fake information that should look as realistic as possible. I think I'm almost out of time, so I hope you enjoyed it. If we have any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
Thank you, Dekel. Can we get the lights up a little bit so that we can see the audience? There's one hand down there.
Hello. To what extent is the deception just security through obscurity?
It's a good question. And in my opinion, it is good to put deception elements inside the network. Sometimes to just know that you have an attacker inside. Sometimes you want to take the attacker to a specific sandboxing environment using deception in order to understand and learn from that attacker what he's trying to do. Okay? We had situations when we came into the organization that we knew there is already an attacker inside. And we created the same environment, and we basically switched IPs with our elements and the real environment elements in order to catch the tools of the attacker. And that way, we can actually understand where the attacker is from, what he's doing, what are his tools. Maybe we can catch 0 days. I know that there are organizations that use deception specifically in order to catch 0 days. And you can take it to the next level. You can go and sell data on the dark web in order to try to attract attackers to attack your specific network. Okay?
I also have a question. Are you talking about some elements within the IT environment of the company, or is it basically like a full decoy organization?
So usually, I didn't want to mention all of our product because I was trying to make it vendor-free, but we do talk about decoys, which are high operating systems, and we do talk about breadcrumbs, which are static pieces of data that we just spread around the network. Eventually, when the attacker will get in, and he will get in, believe me, he will get in, the attacker will just extract information from one of the endpoints, use this information in order to move laterally inside the network. Those are the breadcrumbs that we spread around, and the attacker will catch them, use them, and once he moved inside the network, he will move to our elements, and this is basically where we can catch them.
So one last question, chance to ask a question. If not, then I'll grab the opportunity. how much time does it take to set up the deception system until you hunt all the false positives from, I don't know, some housekeeping systems that kind of, I don't know, try to access those accounts and stuff?
So it's basically two questions. I'll try to answer them both. First, when we talk about deceptions, there are no false positives. If we talk about good deception solution, there are no false positives, mostly because when you have some alert inside the system, it means that someone was actually interacting with your system. No one should know that your system exists. Okay? We have installations where the IT guys don't know that we exist inside the network. Sometimes deception is good for internal threats. So it's very important to understand how and where and when to put it. This is the first thing. Secondly, when you talk about how much time it takes to implement it, this is also a good question because I had implementations of deception project campaigns in environments that took me about 4 hours, 6 hours. And we also had implementations that took us weeks, sometimes months. The thing is that when we come to a new organization, you have no idea what you will find there. This is the first thing. And second, you are not always aware of who are the people that you should speak inside the organization. I need access to all the IPs inside the organization. What is your IP range? And there are locations where the IT manager have no answers for those things. So we do need to understand how to work inside the organization. We do need to understand who to speak with. We do need access to some elements in the organization. Sometimes we put multiple installations in multiple networks, isolated networks, air-gapped networks. So projects can be very small, can be very large.
All right, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause.